What's up, YouTube? Just wanted to give a quick kind of tutorial, very quick, kind of what you would need to paint your own car parts and or maybe your whole vehicle, which is what I'm going to attempt to do. I can show you a part that I painted at the end of this to see, the quality that it comes up with. But I'll show you the parts that I've used or the tools that I've used to get there. So the first thing you would need is an air compressor. Now this is only a 30-gallon air compressor, so it's a 5 horsepower 30-gallon, which isn't very large. That's a smaller air compressor. So for typically painting, you want about 80 on the low end. So for that's for HVLPs, so high volume, low pressure guns. You want a very, very big tank, that way you don't run out of pressure or air while you're painting your car. But I'll show you in a sec. I'm actually using an LVLP, which is a low volume, low pressure gun, which doesn't require as much. The job that you get would probably be a little bit better with a high volume LP, but you can get a very, very, very good job. Like we're talking like show quality with the HVLP. Like we're talking like 90% of show quality with like a LVLP. So I'll show you the difference here. So, but either way, I bought this compressor used, so it was only $80 for this whole compressor. So that was $80 right there. I'm trying to do this as cheaply as possible as I do everything. Then I bought a hose reel. This was new from Amazon. This is just a retractable hose reel. This was as much as the air compressor. This was $80. So right now we're sitting at 160. And then this is the big thing right here. This is what you're gonna need. And this is a low volume, low pressure spray gun. It's called a Spray It R500. But you can look these up. I believe the actual part number is, here we go. It's a Spray It SP 33,000. And you can kind of dial this in once you get it. You got to kind of watch more YouTube videos on how actually to set it up. I mean, there's three different knobs. One's for air pressure, one's for fluid, and then one's for the trigger, the actual the output. So and then you gotta learn how to clean it. It's definitely involved. It's not something where you just buy this and you just start spraying. Like it took me probably about, I sprayed some fog light covers first for an RS bumper, and then I sprayed a grill for an RS, and then I finally went on to this, which I'll show you in just a sec. But it definitely takes some practice dialing in the gun, dialing in how much fluid you want to put down, or how much paint you're putting down, how close you want to hold it, how long you want to hold the trigger, how long of strokes that you want to take. So a lot of that came in handy because I've plasti dipped cars before. So plasti dipped my cars like 4 or 5 times. So I kind of know the flow that I need for plasti dip, and it was kind of almost the same for paint. It was just, knowing not to make it too thick in spots, knowing not to, to avoid those runs, knowing not to mist it on, things of that sort. So let me show you what I painted here. It came out very good. I'll zoom in so you can see it, but a buddy of mine has a 2000 Outback Sport that he's always wanted an RS25 bumper for, because he likes the functionality of the fog lights. He thinks they just look cooler, which they do, but it's also a function thing. So here is the bumper that I painted. I'll zoom in on it, and then I'll show you the blemishes as well, that there were a couple. But overall, looks very good. See the kind of shine and sheen. It has a little bit of orange peel. So orange peel is something you can buff out. You can kind of see it could be shinier. I'm trying to get a good picture of the light. But you can actually just polish it. You can kind of polish it and take like 2000 sand grit or 2000 sandpaper to this and then get all the orange peel out. But for the most part, it looks good. But the blemishes are just kind of, our fault right here. When we were ripping off the tape, you want to rip off the tape like immediately when you're done painting, so you get like a really good line. When ripped off the paint, obviously ripped off the tape, it's still wet. Finger hit that right there, just kind of scraped like bop bop. So that doesn't look perfect. And then that's just operator error. You can see no tiger striping or anything like that. Looks very good. And then the other thing was we didn't have a filter in the gun or a filter for water. So I believe some contaminants got in the actual, like you can see kind of, if I roll over it real quick, you can see kind of a darker spot, like right there. Nothing big. But I think it's because I need a filter for the gun. The gun doesn't have a filter right now. It just has an air regulator. And no filter that filters contaminants or water coming out of the actual air compressor. So all in all, came out really good. I was worried about tiger striping on the longer sections. It came out really good. You can see my reflection very nicely in it. He's very satisfied with the way it turned out. We gave this an A. A minus. Could have been better just because obviously you can see that spot right there that really got kind of screwed up. But again, for an actual car painting, this is primer, base coat, and then clear coat. Not like I'm used to Plastidip, just spraying it on there and calling it quits. This is using an LVLP, which is typically a little bit harder to use because the way it puts out power or puts out paint came out very good. There was one other section that was kind of messed up, and that's right down here. Looks kind of like a scrape. So when I was actually spraying the gun, I was spraying in this section up here, and I nicked it, like right there. Obviously, you're not going to see that when the bumper's on the ground, but when the bumper's on the car. But so all in all, good experience. Hold on. Yeah, good experience. Lessons learned. Get a filter for the compressor. We had a kind of a fiasco with the primer that we ordered. We ordered kind of shittier primer, to be honest. We didn't know it was shittier, but we had some flaking in some spots. That kind of pissed us off a little bit, but we were still able to put down a good. We had to spray down primer twice. Give it like 4 coats of primer because the first 2 coats were kind of screwed up. So that was kind of a lesson learned. Get good primer, get good clear. The base you can kind of like not skimp out on. Obviously, this is matched or supposed to be matched for a 2-tone OBS, but the base isn't really as important. I mean, the color is, don't get me wrong, base is important, but it's not as important as clear primer, in my opinion, or what I've dealt with so far, because base is kind of the intermediate. As long as it sticks to the primer, as long as it's a good color, your clear is going to cover that and protect it. So it's not a huge deal. The other thing learned was, I guess, don't be so quick trying to peel the tape off. Like we could have gone a little bit slower on that. That could have been a little bit more helpful, or could have been a little bit better. That was pretty much it. The paint and the clear, and everything went down really good. Again, really impressed with how it turned out. So yeah, if you have any questions on I'm eventually going to be wanting, just so you know, the fog light covers are just sitting inside. They're not actually like in there. So that's why it looks like they're a little bit off. They're just kind of sitting on top. But if you have any questions on painting or, because it's not screwed in, what steps to, go through to kind of set this up, or how you can practice. Again, I suggest you practice on something small. I'm not going to go through a whole tutorial on how to set up your spray gun. There's plenty of those tutorials out there for LVLPs. But yeah, just hoping to spray my whole car next summer, get some practice, but it was already getting a little bit too cold for this, and I don't have all the body parts I need for mine, so the GC coupe will stay multicolored for now. But yeah, this came out really good, and really we were kind of scared, but it came out really nice, and I'm confident enough to spray my own car. So, all right, YouTube.